Excellency, distinguished guests, and participants, let's join in the homage to Buddha for the celebration of the 2550th anniversary of the Buddha. Now we will present a documentary film on Buddhism in the world today.
Mesdames et messieurs, permettez-moi de vous présenter Dr Piyanut Tsaliyavithyanon, déléguée permanente adjointe de la délégation permanente du Royaume Thaïlande auprès de l'UNESCO, qui va inaugurer la célébration de la 2551e anniversaire du Bouddha. Merci. Bonjour mesdames et messieurs, permettez-moi de vous présenter Dr Piyanut Tsalia. Merci. Maintenant, il y aura la documentation sur le film Le Buddhism in the World Today. Merci.
Buddhism in the world today. In the royal park of Lumbini in northern Nepal to the north of India, the Buddha was born in the 6th century BCE. The ancient Buddhist chronicles record the day of his birth as a full moon day in the month of May. It is a special day in human history commemorating an extraordinary human being who appeared on this planet Earth to save millions of human lives from misery and suffering and to guide the intellectual and cultural development of humanity for millennia. His father, King Suddhodana, ruled over the Shakyas at Kapilavastu, and his mother, Queen Maya, hailed from the neighboring principality of Devadaha. The Prince Siddhartha Gautama, the future Buddha, was brought up in luxury as befitting his royal birth. He was given a traditional education, preparing him to succeed his father to the throne. In addition, His doting father took special care to ensure that the young prince was prevented from encountering any form of misery or unhappiness in life. It was in deference to a prediction that he would become a great spiritual figure if he ever renounced lay life. He married Princess Yasodhara at the age of 16, and in 13 years was due to have their first baby. Assured that his commitment to family life was firm by this time, he was allowed to move freely outside the citadel. During these outings, he came across an old man, a sick person, a dead body, and an ascetic, his first ever encounter with the realities of life. Thus, being suddenly made aware of the inevitability of old age, disease, and death, the young prince was deeply concerned with the impermanence of existence and the resulting misery and suffering. He was determined to find for himself a way to save humanity from suffering. He left his palace on the very day of the birth of his son Rahula and set out on a quest for answers on how to end human suffering. Renouncing royal robes and donning rags of a mendicant ascetic, he wandered into the forest in search of teachers. None of the teachers from whom he learned advanced techniques on meditation for mental development could lead him to his goal of finding an end to suffering. Then he embarked on his own effort, practicing the most arduous penances with long periods of fasting. The more rigorous his practice of self-mortification, the weaker he became physically and distraught in mind. But impressed by his determination, 5 ascetics tended him in his most excruciating practices. Soon, the princely ascetic realized the futility of self-mortification and decided to adopt the middle path of avoiding both extremes of self-indulgence and self-torture. As he grew in strength and mental stability, his 5 attending ascetics abandoned him. Alone, he proceeded with his efforts, and at the age of 35 attained full enlightenment under the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya in India. Thus he achieved the status of a Buddha, a fully awakened or enlightened sage, and a teacher of men and gods. He went in search of the 5 attending ascetics and delivered to them at Isipatana in modern Sarnath near Varanasi the first discourse, aptly designated the Rolling of the Wheel of Doctrine. In his teachings, he analyzed the reality of human existence as comprising impermanence and perpetual change, causing unsatisfactoriness and misery, and thereby underscoring the futility of the notion of self. He presented the 4 noble truths of suffering to be realized, the cause of suffering, which is craving that had to be eradicated, the end of suffering in Nibbana to be attained, and the Noble Eightfold Path to be practiced. His systematic process of mental development led the practitioner to the attainment of self-realization and enlightenment through virtue and moral purity, mindfulness, and concentration of the mind. This was taught to those who opted to follow his path of deliverance. To the laity, he taught a path of moral purity leading to a better life here and hereafter. The Buddha had as much to say on life here and now as on spiritual progress to salvation. standing before humans as a human with no claim to divine or supernatural power or connection, the Buddha taught a path which every man, woman, or child could follow, and presented an ideal of perfection which was within everyone's reach to be attained with nothing but one's own effort and determination. One is one's own master was his clarion call to humanity. One has to attain one's salvation by one's own effort, for the Buddhas were only the pointers to the path. He relied on the critical acumen of all people and placed even his own teachings for examination with the invitation, "Ehipassiko, come and see for yourself." Think for yourself, he underscored, and let the good and benefit of the many be the only criterion. His way of life had no place for dogma or blind faith. He recognized the multiplicity of spiritual paths and studiously avoided the slightest inclination to conversion. He believed that all religious teachers could lead their disciples to heaven and enjoined them to do so. Founding the Sangha as a self-renewing, self-sustaining democratic society of dedicated men and women, submitting to a stringent code of discipline of restraint and selfless service, the Buddha initiated the earliest known missionary movement in the world. Go forth on missions, O monastics, for the good and the benefit of the many. He enjoined the Sangha, and it has remained for over 2,600 years an extraordinarily effective spiritual movement and force. The missionary zeal of the Sangha is as strong today as it has been in its long and peaceful history. Neither a central authority nor organizational control was ever established. The Buddha agitated against the prevailing caste system of India, where people were occupationally and socially compelled by birth to rigid restrictions and hardships. To emphasize the equality of all humans, he set the example of admitting to the Sangha candidates from all castes and classes and established seniority of membership as the only standard of precedence. Similarly, he recognized the intellectual and spiritual potential of women and enabled them to be active members of the Sangha. In his numerous discourses on life issues, he upheld for every person the right to education, the right to work, the right to freedom, and the right to choose a religion. With precept and example as his principal tools of agitation and public education, he led an effective movement against all forms of social barriers and discrimination, intolerance and prejudice, exploitation and oppression. Declaring that all sentient creatures feared violence as life was precious to every being, the Buddha advocated non-violence. He urged for peace and reconciliation, understanding and accommodation, moderation and forgiveness. To his relatives who were about to start a war over a water dispute, he asked, "What is more valuable, a drop of blood or water?" The 5 disciplines of avoiding killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, falsehood, and abuse of liquor and drugs were advocated for all as a minimum moral code to ensure order and well-being. The Buddhist ideal of life was couched in the four sublime or imponderable states of loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. The goal of spiritual training was the realization of wisdom through mental development based on moral purity. The Buddha's mission lasted 45 years until he passed away at the age of 80 years at Kusinara. By this time, he had set the foundation for his teachings to be compiled, codified, and systematically studied. The Sangha had become a full-fledged educational organization with an enormous capacity to preserve and spread the Buddhist teachings through instruction as well as substantial literary efforts of explanation and interpretation. A religious infrastructure in the form of well-established monasteries and shrines had also come into being. Thus, 2,550 years ago, the mission of the Buddha was fully consolidated to become the world religion it has now become. What for nearly 300 years remained a regional religion was spread over the then-known Eurasian world by the Mauryan Emperor Asoka. 9 missions sent under his patronage took Buddhism to Sri Lanka, Myanmar, and Thailand, as well as to other parts of the Indian subcontinent and the Greek dominions to the west. 3 centuries later, Kushan King Kanishka I facilitated the spread of Buddhism via the Silk routes to Central Asia, from where it went in due course to China, Korea, Japan, and Vietnam. Buddhism has consolidated itself into 3 major traditions as Theravada or Southern Buddhism in South and Southeast Asia, Mahayana or Northern Buddhism in East Asia, and Vajrayana or Tantrayana Buddhism in Tibet, Mongolia, and Russia. Preserving intact the central teachings of the Buddha, these traditions and their schools and sects cater for the specific spiritual requirements of nearly 500 million of the world's population. The most spectacular element of Buddhism is its rich and varied cultural heritage, representing significant achievements in literature, art and architecture, and performing arts. The aesthetic creativity inspired by Buddhism is best displayed by such great monuments as Buddha Gaya, Sanchi, Ajanta, and Ellora in India, Anuradhapura, Holonarwa, Sigiriya, Maligawila, Dambulla, and Kandy in Sri Lanka, Taxila and Takht-i-Bahai in Pakistan, Bamiyan and Bagram in Afghanistan, Dunhuang, Luoyang, Lesham and Xi'an in China, Borobudur in Indonesia, Angkor Wat and Bayon in Cambodia, Nara, Kyoto, and Kamakura in Japan, Sakharam in Korea, Hue in Vietnam, Shwedagon and Mandalay in Myanmar, and Ayutthaya and Chiang Mai in Thailand. Equally impressive are the numerous objects of art, especially statues of the Buddha and Bodhisattvas, illustrated manuscripts of Buddhist scriptures, sculptures depicting the life of the Buddha and history of Buddhism, and diverse decorative motifs, which are treasured in many museums on all continents. Buddhism remains the vibrant spiritual force of Asia, where most of the countries have a majority of Buddhists. With the European expansion into Asia, Buddhism was discovered by missionaries and scholars who, over the last 200 years, have contributed to the evolution of Buddhist studies as a major intellectual discipline. From the nursery of the academia, Buddhism has progressively moved to Western society, where an increasing population of admirers and friends of Buddhism pursue both study and practice. Buddhist meditation and chanting have become popular pursuits in their circles. The rapidly increasing Buddhist communities in Europe, Northern and Southern America, and Australia, resulting from the recent diaspora from traditionally Buddhist countries, have added diversity and spiritual enrichment to Western societies. The sheer number of annual publications of books and periodicals on Buddhism in Western languages is an indication of the growing interest in the teachings of the Buddha and their application to problems and challenges of the modern world. Increasingly recognized is the contribution which Buddhism is capable of making to combat violence and insecurity, intolerance and prejudice, and war and criminality in a concerted universal effort to restore peace, harmony, and human dignity. The Buddhists are conscious of their responsibility to mobilize themselves to enable Buddhism to serve humanity. They have established international organizations to serve this purpose. Among them, the World Fellowship of Buddhists in Bangkok, which enjoys operational relations with UNESCO, the World Buddhist University, and Pure Land Learning College in Australia are noteworthy. In all, many hundreds of organizations work regionally and nationally to promote human development through the teachings of the Buddha, which in summary are Sabba Papasa Akaranam, Kusalasa Upasampada, Sasita Pariyodapanam, Etam Buddha Nusasanam.
I hope everyone enjoyed the film. We welcome you, all the honored guests, distinguished guests, to the celebration of the 2550th birthday of our Lord Buddha. It is certainly a very unusual, a very unique experience for us to make the presentation today. And now, may I call upon the 10 religious representatives to come up to the podium to make a prayer for world peace.
Hindu prayer, Vakundam, Nalla Manamandam, Mamalal, Vakundam, Meri Nurangadu, Hukundu, Tupa, Tulumeri, Tumbikayan Badam, Tapamal, Salva, Tamaki. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo, Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat, Param Brahma, Tasmai Sri, Guruve Namada. Oh Lord, may all be happy, may all be free from disease, may all be free from dangers, may all realize what is good, may all be actuated by noble thoughts, may all rejoice everywhere, may none be subject to misery, may there be peace in all, peace in all, peace in all. Thank you.
This is adapted from the liturgy of the Jewish prayer book. Sim Shalom, Tova Uvracha, Chen v'chesed v'rachamim, Aleinu v'al kol amecha. Grant peace, goodness and blessing, grace and loving kindness, and mercy to us and to the whole world. Bless us, our Creator, all of us as one, with the radiance of your presence, for by that light you have given us, Lord our God, the wisdom of life, a love of loving kindness, of justice, of blessing, of mercy, of life, and of peace. May it please you to bless your people at all times with your vision of perfection. We praise you, God. You bless your people and all humanity with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, HaMevarech et Amo Bashalom.
I'm going to pray a Zoroastrian prayer in Farsi for world peace, understanding, and the wisdom to give us good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. Yathavaryo Atharatus Ashad Hachit Hacha Vangayos Dasda Maningos Shathenanam Angyos Masdai Shatrem Chai Haurai Ayem Darekabyo Dadat Vasta Rem Ashem Vahu Vaishtem Asti Usta Asti Usta Mai Yatashai Vaishta Shem Yenge Hatam Auta Yasni Paiti Vangau Masdao Hauro Vaitat Asharacha Yomcha Tasya Tausya Yasmaide.
Buddhism Shanti. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Sunakatang sumangkalang supaphatang suhutitang sukano sumuhuto sunakalang supaphata sunusukha hoyapata prapata sunakatang sumangkalang supaphatang suhutitang sukano sumuhuto yusuyithang pramachari supathakinang kaya kamang waca kamang pathakhinang mano kamang
ปณิทิเตปทักขินานิกัตตวารรพันตเถปทักขิเน
Our vision, pray for the world, peace and harmony. 天地之灵会气分散，当中言语广东台湾北方卫星是我之灵灵保护员，报告求生前我等来东方太原中药博士，十对万千众生心像万事入本，我上一片晓归延年安宁我甲北海地温往熟悉，超越我念向为有神道义同尊结别路来临。天地现状万义本观，光修万劫定我神通。三界内为伟大独尊体有金刚效应我心，视之不见，听之不闻，包罗天地，拥有群星。修之万变，心有光明，三界是为我地是应万千条例。亦是雷霆鬼有双担正怪，望兴雷玉霹雳雷神有名。当为高千王地天天金刚所现，学校之年，急急如玉昂光降如莲。愿世界和平，国泰民安，福生无量天尊。
God, the creator of us all, you have created all life on earth and related the earth to the whole universe under your power and your rule. We seek your blessings upon us as we gather in this conference with thoughts of peace and of harmony. Grant to us, O Lord, your divine blessings, giving thanks to you for the foresight and vision of Master Ching Kung and the work of UNESCO, praying that together in this conference we may advance your kingdom of earth, that you will bestow upon us peace among humankind, peace on earth, in harmony with the environment. 慈悲的天父，我们感谢你给我们有这个智慧来参加这个大会，求你施恩给我们，求你的圣灵和我们同在。现在为了进贡法师以及人和教育文化的运动，世界可以得到和平，人类宗教团结起来，求你帮助我们，无论在哪一个地方，可以去促进和平，为人类有很大的贡献。但愿主耶稣基督的慈爱，天父的慈爱，圣灵的感动，与我们同在。阿们。
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of God, the most merciful, most compassionate. Praise be to God that we are all gathered here today for another crucial interfaith gathering, working for durable and sustainable peace. This time in conjunction with
the celebration of the 2250th anniversary of the birth of Buddha. Alhamdulillah, we all cooperate in any work for peace and global harmony, and we pray for the success for all our noble endeavors. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
ਇੱਕ ਓਂਕਾਰ ਸਤਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ। ਤੂੰ ਠਾਕਰ ਤੁਮ ਪੈਰਦਾਸ ਜੀਉ ਪਿੰਡ ਸਭ ਤੇਰੀ ਰਾਸ। तुम मात पिता हम बारक तेरे तुम्हारी कृपा में सुख कनेरे। कोई न जाने तुमरा अंत ऊंचे ते ऊंचा भगवंत। सगल समग्री तुम्हारे ऊपर थारी तुमते हुए सुआज्ञाकारी। तुम्हारी गत में तुम ही जानी नानक दास सदा कुर्बानी। वाहिगुरु कृपा करो से प्यारे मेलो जिन्हें मिलिया तेरा नाम चितावे। O Lord, bless us with the company of righteous people like the one assembled here, and the gurus and the teachers like Master Chinkung to keep us together, so that we be one family, we live in love, compassion, humility and charity. Thank you.
This is a prayer from the Baha'i writings. O thou compassionate Lord, thou who art generous and able, we are servants of thine, shunted beneath thy providence. Cast thy glance of favor upon us. Give light to our eyes, hearing to our ears, and understanding and love to our hearts. Render our souls joyous and happy through thy glad tidings, O Lord. Point out to us the pathway of thy kingdom, and resuscitate all of us through the breath of thy Holy Spirit. Bestow upon us life everlasting, and confer upon us never-ending honor. Unify mankind, and illumine the world of humanity. May we all follow thy pathway, long for thy good pleasure, and seek the mysteries of thy kingdom. O Lord, unite us and connect our hearts with thy indissoluble bond, where thou art the giver, thou art the kind one, and thou art the Almighty.
Now I'm pleased to welcome and call upon the distinguished leaders and representatives to take seat at the podium as follows. His Excellency Koichiro Matsuura, Director General of UNESCO. Most Venerable Professor Shi Jinkong, President of the Pure Land Learning College from Australia. Dr. Priyanup Yarijat Vidingan, Deputy Permanent Delegate, Permanent Delegation of the Kingdom of Thailand to UNESCO. His Excellency Zhang Xingsheng, President, Executive Board of UNESCO. His Excellency Dr. Musa bin Jafar bin Hassan, President, General Conference of UNESCO. Professor Dr. Ananda Guruge, Chairman of the World Buddhist University. Madame Tracy Haynes, Deputy Permanent Delegate of Australia to UNESCO. Dr. Dhammaratana, Project Director and WFB Alternate Liaison Officer to UNESCO. Mr. Philip Tayari, Secretary General, WFB Headquarters, Thailand. Mahi Sansani, Director, Satira Dhammasatan, Thailand. Dr. Patricia Gadden, Honorable President, French Buddhist Union. This is my great honor to invite His Excellency Koichiro Matsuura to declare open the session.
Mr. President of the General Conference, venerable guests, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor for me to inaugurate at UNESCO headquarters the celebration of the 2550th anniversary of the Buddha. Let me first convey my warm greetings to the hundreds of millions of followers of the Enlightened One around the world, as well as to all those who share the core values of compassion, mutual respect, and peace embodied in his teachings. I would also like to express my gratitude to the organizers of this 3-day celebration, permanent delegation of the Kingdom of Thailand to UNESCO, the World Fellowship of Buddhists, the World Buddhist University, and the Pure Land Learning College of Australia. Let me further thank all other permanent delegations who have contributed to this event. In addition to cultural festivities, these anniversary celebrations will also be marked by an international symposium on Buddhism, development, and the role of religion in peace. Allow me to extend a special welcome to the distinguished participants of the discussion panels who have convened here to engage in constructive dialogue on some of the most important issues facing humankind today. Buddhism is one of the world's oldest religions, and its history holds many valuable lessons. We know that the Buddha was born into royalty as Siddhartha Gautama in northern India between the 5th and 6th century BC. Before reaching the age of 30, he decided to leave the comforts of his home in an attempt to comprehend the suffering he witnessed around him. It is worth recalling that the Buddha never pretended to be anything but human. What he learned was inspired neither by a god nor by human authority. Buddha declared, "We are our own master." He taught that through our own efforts and intelligence, we can free ourselves from the slavery of desire and hate. And he emphasized this notion of individual responsibility by declaring that every individual, whatever his or her caste, condition or faith, could attain nirvana, the ultimate state of inner peace and contentment. Buddhism quickly spread throughout Central, Southeast, and East Asia. In keeping with the Buddha's emphasis on mutual respect, his teachings were propagated peacefully. It was through Buddhism's inherent capacity to assimilate foreign ideas and local traditions without sacrificing its fundamental message that the religion was propagated so successfully among many Asian peoples. As the Buddha's teachings expanded across Asia, various Buddhist traditions emerged. Buddhism, in its diverse forms, brought together the exceptionally rich and creative cultures of the Indian subcontinent, China, Korea, and Japan, as well as of the countries of Southeast Asia. It formed, through this fertile intermingling, a great spiritual community. Indeed, one of the outstanding forces of Buddhism, as both a religion and a philosophy, is its ability to act as a catalyst, enabling different societies to give expression to their latent qualities and creative energy. Buddhism's extraordinary capacity to integrate, transmit, and fertilize many cultures constitutes the living proof of the Buddha's message, unity in diversity. This resonates strongly with UNESCO's notion of cultural diversity. This notion recognizes the common links between societies while acknowledging their distinctive identities as factors of richness and openness in an increasingly globalized world. Buddhism advocates the need to be at peace with oneself in order to be able to open up to others and to fully accept and recognize the diverse identities that make up the fabric of our shared humanity. Such introspection does not imply isolation within one's own world and thoughts. Rather, it suggests an ever-evolving exchange with others of living and thinking, motivated by a true spirit of knowledge of the other. In the current international climate, marked by increasing intercultural and inter-religious tensions, this celebration offers an excellent opportunity to give worldwide resonance to the Buddha's message of mutual respect and dialogue. UNESCO views dialogue as an effective means of avoiding the misunderstandings that reinforce negative stereotypes, breed antagonism and mistrust, and pave the way for violence. By allowing different perspectives and critical views to emerge, dialogue can help us to gain a better understanding of other cultures and religions, as well as our own. There can be no doubt that the quest for peace can only come through the mutual understanding of and respect for different faiths in the spirit of the UNESCO Universal Declaration on Cultural Diversity adopted in 2001. It is UNESCO's constitutional mandate to advance the mutual knowledge and understanding of peoples. The organization attaches great importance to inter-religious dialogue as a means of strengthening relationships within and between societies. The organization is deeply committed not only to fostering dialogue but also to building new partnerships for interfaith cooperation. With this aim in mind, in March 2006, I signed an agreement to the creation of Unitary Network on Inter-Religious Dialogue for Intercultural Understanding. To mark this occasion, the 15 UNESCO University chairs making up the network convened in Paris for their first meeting. Together, these chairs form a strong platform for building partnerships in support of inter-religious dialogue. Let me also mention that this year UNESCO celebrates the 100th anniversary of the birth of the influential Theravada Buddhist monk, the Venerable Buddhadasa Bhikkhu from Thailand, who thus joins UNESCO's list of great international personalities. I have been following with great interest recent events and international encounters aimed at promoting dialogue among the world religions. Last month, I had the honor to attend the second Congress of Leaders of World and Traditional Religions, in Astana, Kazakhstan. The Congress's final declaration, I quote, condemns all forms of terrorism on the basis that justice can never be established through fear and bloodshed, and that the use of such means in the name of religion is a violation and betrayal of any religion that appeals to human goodness and dialogue. End of the quotation. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on this special celebration of the 2550th anniversary of the Buddha, I wish to draw particular attention to the Buddhist values of compassion and solidarity. These are values that are shared by all great religions and civilizations. Therefore, I would like to appeal once again to all religions and spiritual traditions, to their leaders and to the people who follow them, to refuse violence and stand united for the well-being of all peoples regardless of their beliefs and convictions. Having witnessed in recent decades numerous armed conflicts and the great pain and anguish they have caused, we should bear in mind one of the fundamental aims of Buddhism as expressed in the Four Noble Truths, namely the elimination of suffering. Let us all work together toward this noble goal by countering violence and building a lasting peace in the hearts and minds of all peoples of the world. I thank you for your attention and wish you all a joyous celebration.
I thank you very much, Mr. Director General. Your message this morning in opening this 2550th birth anniversary of the Buddha to work for the solidarity and peace development. Now, it is my great honor to invite Dr. Priyanut Jaryavidyanon, Deputy Permanent Delegate to UNESCO, Deputy Permanent Delegate, Permanent Delegation of Thailand to UNESCO. She has been working with us as an official coordinator to today realize this celebration. Dr. Priyanut, floor for you now.
His Excellency Koichiro Matsuura, Director General of UNESCO, His Excellency Dr. Musa bin Jafar bin Hassan, President of the General Conference of UNESCO, His Excellency Charles Chin-Cheng, President of the Executive Board of UNESCO, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor for me to welcome you on behalf of the permanent delegations of Thailand to UNESCO. As the official coordinator of the 2550th anniversaries of the Buddha at UNESCO, I take this opportunity to express my sincere thanks to His Excellency Koichiro Matsuura, Director General of UNESCO, and other distinguished guests to this opening session of the celebration. I am also pleased to welcome the Buddhist leaders of the host organizations, namely His Excellency Pan Vanamaki, President of the World Fellowship of Buddhists, Most Venerable Chingu, President of the Pure Land Learning College of Australia, and Professor Noranis Setebut, the rector of the World Buddhist University, for their joint cooperation to host these historical events, wishing to acknowledge the Buddhist contribution to world peace and sustainable development. It is also my privilege to welcome both Buddhist and other member states to UNESCO for their kind cooperation to make a success of this event. I also equally welcome the Buddhist dignitaries, monks and nuns, invited speakers, as well as delegates who are coming from around the world to celebrate these Buddhist golden jubilees at UNESCO and to pay tribute deeply grateful to the Lord Buddha. It is worthy to note that after 25 centuries existence of these noble religions, the Buddhism today has become a universal religion and philosophy which is playing an important role in different areas of human development. The peace has been touched by the Lord Buddha as main concept of his teachings. For him, without development peace, first one's own inner heart, it is impossible to create world peace. Therefore, practicing of Buddhism as individuals' capacity will help to create peace in the society. In addition, the Lord Buddha's teachings are beneficial to the world community in promotions of the fruitful diversity of culture, solidarity of humankind, and view of culture peace. Finally, I wish to welcome all delegations from Japan, Korea, China, Thailand, Cambodia, Sri Lanka, Australia, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, India, Nepal, Vietnam, France, Germany, Italy, United Kingdom, United States of America, and other countries on behalf of the organization's committee. Thank you for your intentions.
Thank you very much, Madam Dr. Pianut, as an official coordinator. Most Venerable Professor Chimko, the President of Pure Land Learning College of Australia, His Excellency Koichiro Matsura, Director General of UNESCO, His Excellency Dr. Musa bin Jafar bin Hassan, the President of the General Conference of UNESCO, Venerable Sirs, ladies and gentlemen. It is with immense pleasure and honor I wish to address you this morning to this historical celebration of the 2550th anniversary of the Buddha at UNESCO. With the instruction given by His Excellency Pan Vanamati, the President of the World Fellowship of Buddhists, and generous contribution has made by the Most Venerable Chinkon, I took the responsibility to organize this event with the joint cooperation of the World Buddhist University, Pure Land Learning College, and permanent delegation of Thailand to UNESCO, as well as other Buddhist member states to UNESCO. We are today commemorate the 2550th anniversary of the Buddha, Shakyamuni Gautama, who founded Buddhist religion, and we consider him as a foremost humanist in the human history. It is not any exaggeration to say that the 45 years of teaching of the Buddha have been influenced to lives of several million and million of the people in this planet Earth. Mr. Director General, I am very glad to see your presence in this illustrious gathering, as well as our President of the General Conference, together with Buddhist leaders and distinguished delegates coming from four corners of the world, to celebrate this extraordinary event at the Temple of World Culture, UNESCO in Paris. Your Excellencies, it is surprising to recall here that while the entire Buddhist world celebrates this year the Buddhist Golden Jubilee at a larger degree with a great enthusiasm, the United Nations also celebrates the year of the culture of peace, which make not only joint effort for peace determination in worldwide, but also pay homage to this extraordinary man and his contribution to human development. The Buddha's activity in the 6th century BCE corresponds to the time of the Socrates in Greece and Confucius in China, and it was a period of enlightenment which heralded the beginning of the humanism. Ladies and gentlemen, during these 3 days of celebration at UNESCO, there would be a series of activities has been planned to enrich this historical event. Among them, 2 keynote speakers will highlight how and which manner Buddhism has been influenced to humanity, as well as to maintain sustainable development of world peace. Besides that, there would be 2 panel discussions. The first panel will focus that how Buddhism has been contributed in education, spiritual, ethical and humanistic progress since its inception. And the second will be an intercultural dialogue, which will aim how dialogue and openness will eliminate mistrust, misunderstanding and intolerance among different traditions, and to find out the role of religion for peace building. Mr. Director General, the Buddhist world is very conscious of your noble mission at UNESCO in peace development through education, culture, social and human sciences and communication. Therefore, while celebrating this Buddhist Golden Jubilee, there are more than 70 countries are here today in this house to show their commitment for world peace, harmony and tolerance, as well as to cooperate with UNESCO's virtuous mission for the service of humanity. I also take this opportunity to extend our sincere thanks to you for your confidence on our activities at UNESCO and 52 countries in the world by recommending to UNESCO Executive Board that World Fellowship for Buddhists to be upgraded from its current status of operational relation to formal consultative relation. Therefore, I strongly believe that the philosophy of the Buddha may contribute a lot UNESCO sectors of culture and education in its program of dialogue among civilization, philosophy, peace and human rights education, which seem to be missing in the activities. Mr. President, the world nation today face many problems, among them insecurity, become a deadly, a universal curse, both among the rich and the poor. The highly developed science and technology has failed to find out the secret of human happiness. Therefore, I believe that during these 3 days of discussions, we may find out a roadmap in the light of the Buddha's teaching to create a better world where all human beings would enjoy peace and serenity. Thank you very much. Now, it is my great honor to invite His Excellency Dr. Musa bin Jafar bin Hassan, President, General Conference of UNESCO. Mr. President, this floor for you now. Mr. President, going to address in Arabic language. You have a simultaneous interpretation. Thank you.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. معالي كوتشيرو ماتسورا مدير عام اليونسكو، سعادة نائب المندوب الدائم لتايلاند، الزملاء منظمي هذا الاحتفال الكبير، العلماء، رجال الدين، الأساتذة، سيداتي سادتي، إننا اليوم وفي هذا اللقاء التاريخي الكبير الذي نتذكر فيه رجل عظيم وهب حياته من أجل الإنسانية، ذكرى 2550 سنة على ميلاد بوذا. إن هذا اليوم إن هذا اللقاء بمشاركة رجال الدين والسياسة والأدب والاجتماع سيسمح لتكاثف الجهود والإرادات من أجل بناء ثقافة جديدة للتعامل مع أحداث العالم بحكمة، سعيا إلى تحقيق أهداف التسامح والحوار والتي من أجلها أنشئت منظمة اليونسكو. إننا نحتاج إلى منهج رصين يضيء للإنسانية خطوات الحوار من أجل رؤية شاملة تراعي كافة المعتقدات والتنوع الثقافي، وتحدد الأهداف وتقترح الحلول عن طريق التفاعل بين الثقافات والحضارات. إن تاريخ بوذا يحمل سجلا خصبا وغنيا، فقد تطرق إلى كافة أوجه الحياة وقدم نصائحه منذ أكثر من 2500 عام التي تجعلنا اليوم وفي القرن 21 نشعر بأهميتها. إنها رسالة نبعت من فكر وقلب بوذا تناقلتها الأجيال، وعلينا الاهتمام بهذا التراث من أجل حوار حقيقي بين الأديان والثقافات لبناء مجتمع إنساني مبني على التفاهم والسلام. سيداتي سادتي، إن الأمية وتفاقم مشكلتها يعني تعطيل طاقات الشعوب في الدول النامية التي ينتشر فيها البؤس والفقر، ويقدر عدد الجياع في العالم حسب برنامج الأمم المتحدة الإنمائي أكثر من 800 مليون نسمة. وتتزايد أزمة نقص الطعام ومشكلة الأمن الغذائي في الوقت الذي تشهد فيه مناطق أخرى من العالم فائضا في الطعام. وقد حذر بوذا منذ زمن بعيد العالم من هذا الداء، ودعا إلى تقاسم الأرزاق حيث يقول: دعوا خبزكم على عتبة كهوفكم للجائعين، واتركوا بعض الثمار على غصونها لعابري الطرق. أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، سيداتي سادتي، إن العالم يتألف من شعوب مختلفة وثقافات متعددة، وإن الاعتراف بهذا التنوع الثقافي يدفعنا إلى دعم كل مبادرة للنقاش السلمي بينها، ويدعو بوذا إلى التصدي لمحاولات إيجاد بؤر الصراع بين هذه الثقافات، ويدعو إلى العدالة الاجتماعية، ويؤكد على التسامح بين البشر والتفاهم واحترام التنوع واتباع مناهج الجدال الحسن والقدرة على التواصل والإقناع. ويقول بوذا بهذا الصدد: ألقي جانبا بالإساءة للغير والغضب، وأعرض عن الاحتقار وسوء النية، ولا تغذي في نفسك الحقد حتى ولا على الذين يسيئون إليك. سيداتي سادتي، إن توجيه الأطفال والشباب وإعارتهم مزيدا من الانتباه من شأنه المساعدة على تحسين حياة البشر عن طريق مناهج تعليمية ملائمة للأطفال وإعداد جيد للمعلمين حتى يتمكنوا من غرس التعاليم الخصبة التي تدعو إلى المحبة وقيم السلام والمبادئ الإنسانية المشتركة. وإن هذا المخزون من الأخلاق متواجد في كافة الأديان والمعتقدات. علينا توعية الأجيال بواجبات العمل الاجتماعي كأهم عامل من عوامل الاستقرار في المجتمع المحلي، وبالتالي تحسين العلاقة بين أفراد هذا المجتمع وإزالة المفاهيم الخاطئة عن المجتمعات الأخرى، وتشجيع المرأة على الانخراط في المجتمع وتحمل واجباتها، وفي نفس الوقت رفع كفاءتها ووعيها وتوفير كافة السبل لها للانخراط في أداء دورها الإيجابي في كافة المجالات بدون قيود. فالمرأة هي التي تعلم الرجل الطريق إلى النجاح، فيكون الرجل في كبره كما هيأته أمه في صغره، كما يقول الكاتب العربي المصري قاسم أمين. كما قيل إن قلب الأم مدرسة الطفل. لذلك نجد إن دورها في صنع السلام حيوي، لأن نظرات المرأة أقوى قانون ودموعها أصدق برهان، كما يقول العالم سافيلد. سيداتي سادتي، إننا في هذا اليوم نتذكر المساهمات القيمة التي سخرها لنا بوذا العظيم، وأتباعه من البوذيين من أجل نشر الوعي بالقيم المشتركة بين البشرية. وإن على اليونسكو التي تحتفل في مقرها بعيد ميلاد بوذا أن تسلط الضوء على التراث البوذي الذي يدعو دائما إلى التسامح والتضامن. سيداتي سادتي، إن حياة بوذا ودعوته إلى الرحمة والمحبة والفرح تؤثر على كثير من المؤمنين بقيمه في العالم، ودعوته إلى المحبة والسعادة هو إلهام لنا جميعا من أجل التأمل وبذل جهد جماعي لتعزيز العلاقات الودية بين الأمم وإزالة التهديدات للسلام وتشجيع الديمقراطية وحقوق الإنسان والعمل على صون الحريات الأساسية للإنسان. يقول بوذا رسول السلام والمحبة: جميع الكائنات الحية مهما كانت ضعيفة أو قوية، صغيرة أو كبيرة، مرئية أو غير منظورة، لكل منها الحق في نشدان السعادة. السعادة سيداتي سادتي إن توفرت للإنسان فتترك أثرا قويا في النفس، ويستقيم السلوك، ويتطور الفكر، وتزداد المعرفة، متمنيا لكم السعادة الدائمة، والسلام عليكم.
Thank you very much, Mr. President of General Conference, for your message to work for the solidarity and peace. It is a great honor for me now to invite Most Venerable Ching Kung as a token of gratitude. Mr. Director General's Service for the Humanity and Peace Development now going to offer Tripitaka text. Tripitaka means the words of the Buddha has written for a long time ago. It is in classical Chinese. I am inviting Most Venerable Ching Kung to hand over and Dr. Priyanut this Tripitaka text to the Director General. Mr. Palak, Dr. Anand Guru.